Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
Parents are left with more questions than answers about schools starting this fall. Some weigh the options of keeping kids at home and turning the kitchen table into a classroom. Congress calls on Illinois Governor Pritzker and other government leaders to give their opinions on the federal response to COVID-19. His comments are a heavy critique. And like Candice said a few minutes ago, it is hot in the state line. We catch up with some Rockfordians to see how they're getting relief while pools are closed. Good evening, I'm Eric Wilson. Mimi Murphy is off tonight. With official plans for the 2020-2021 school year still up in the air, parents look at alternative ways of getting kids an education. Michelle Rave talked with one mom who says she's thinking about teaching her kids at home.
Paying attention, being distracted, I see a lot of different things that can go wrong with this. So that's why homeschooling is definitely a potential in the future.
Tina Archer is a mother of two. She says she's on the fence about sending her kids back to school during COVID-19 and may continue homeschooling.
It was definitely an adjustment for them too, but they actually really enjoyed it. They had a lot of mom time, which they don't get that often, but they learned actually quite a bit.
E-learning expert Inez Ruiz says she's seen an increase in interest from parents about homeschooling.
I think some parents, they want to keep their kids safe, so they are not ready to send them to school yet.
Ruiz says although the idea of homeschooling kids can be daunting, parents should view it as an opportunity to get creative.
We are learning about animals, let's watch a movie about animals, or find other ways that it's not going to be the traditional way of learning that we grew up with.
Archer says one of her main concerns is safety measures put in place to stop the spread of COVID. She worries her children might become distracted and won't feel comfortable wearing a mask for a long period of time.
I can't necessarily see both of them doing it for 8 hours a day. Like there's 7 and 4. It's going to be rough on an every single day basis.
Ruiz says one of the most important things parents can do is have fun with it.
To make the learning process more fun for the kids and for them as well, because if the kids are enjoying their time, you as a parent, that's a fulfilling moment, right? Like you're having fun with your kids, they are learning and they are becoming those little humans that you want them to be, right?
As for Archer, she currently has her kids enrolled in RPS schools, but says she's keeping an open mind. In Rockford, for your home team, I'm Michelle Rave.
A husband and a wife were arrested in connection with a weekend murder at a DeKalb gas station. Police took Katrina and Jimmy Edwards into custody yesterday. The killing happened just before 2 a.m. on the 4th of July. Katrina is charged with obstructing justice. Her husband, Jimmy, faces a first-degree murder charge. Reports say Katrina and the victim, Christian Keeler Tyus, got into an argument at the Fast Mart gas station on South 4th Street. Edwards then called her husband. Police say when Jimmy got to the Fast Mart, he shot Keeler Tyus several times. He died at the hospital. Bullets hit a second person. That person's expected to be okay. A Boone County father and son die in a fiery crash on I-90. Illinois State Police say 49-year-old Harold Switzer Jr. and 26-year-old Harold Switzer III were in a car heading west on 90 just before 11 Tuesday night. For some reason, the car left the road, flipped several times, and caught on fire. According to investigators, both men were ejected. The Switzers are from Belvedere. A Stateline Hospital takes steps to eliminate a portion of behavioral health treatments. Mercy Health's Rockton Avenue campus is in the initial discussions to stop inpatient mental health treatment. Officials say it's due to low patient counts and not enough doctors. The Illinois Health Facilities and Services Review Board would have to approve the decision. An advocacy group, the National Alliance of Mental Illness Northern Illinois, urges people to write and request a public hearing on the decision. For that information, just find this story at mystateline.com. The Ogle County Health Department orders Oregon's SuperValu shut down. There's been a COVID-19 outbreak connected to the grocery store. According to the health department, the agency is working with staff to reopen. That includes screening logs for employees, monitoring, sanitation, and quarantine for close contacts. The department's also trying to identify people who tested positive. It's not advising customers to get tested unless they show symptoms. Some COVID-19 testing sites are changing hands. Right now, Illinois National Guardsmen have been staffing 11 state-run screening sites. The UIC Health Sciences campus in Rockford is one of them. About 80 Guard members are there. Governor Pritzker announced those sites will move into the hands of contract staffers. A small group, about 100 Guardsmen statewide, will stay behind to help with the transition through the end of the month. Testing will still be free. Since state-run testing sites opened, the National Guard helped administer more than 200,000 COVID tests. Illinois drivers get another extension. The Secretary of State's office moved a deadline to November 1st. That deadline had been, the change includes driver's licenses, state IDs, and license plate stickers. It's because of the coronavirus pandemic. The move is designed to keep people from coming into a facility. Good news for business owners comes out of Beloit City Council meeting. Council members unanimously voted to reopen the city's economy. That means restaurants, bars, salons, retail, churches, and other places closed can open their doors. Like other places, safety requirements will be in place. People need to maintain that 6 feet of physical distance or wear PPE. Gatherings should be limited to 25 people. Those considered high risk are asked to continue to stay home. You can find a full list of the restrictions in this story on the My Stateline app. The heat has stuck around the state line for over the last week now, with public pools staying empty. There are few places in the Forest City to get some relief. A group of siblings taking advantage of Park District splash pads talked with Dylan Saraki and say they're glad those pads are up and running.
As temperatures in Rockford once again climbed over 90 degrees, some local kids turned to their neighborhood parks to find relief from the heat.
I'm gonna get you!
Savannah Badillo and her 2 younger siblings played in one of the Rockford Park District's automatic spray pads at BD Playground this afternoon. With many public pools not reopening this summer because of COVID-19, Badillo says it's difficult right now to find safe, cost-effective ways for kids to enjoy themselves outside. She's glad the spray pads are back in operation for the summer.
I think it's a good thing for them, especially with the corona going on, just for the kids to get out and go play. That's a good thing because there's not a lot of activities we can do during this not so pleasant time.
There are 10 different parks in the Rockford Park Districts that offer spray pads for you and your family to enjoy. You can find the addresses for all of those locations by finding this story on our website, mystateline.com. In Rockford for your home team, I'm Dylan Saraki.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker weighs in on the national response to the COVID-19 pandemic. He testified in front of the House Committee on Homeland Security earlier today. During the meeting, Pritzker and other state and city leaders held a microscope to how the federal government handled the pandemic. Pritzker was critical of the federal response, saying it left states to fend for themselves during the thick of the health crisis. The governor went as far as to compare the government's response to a kind of Hunger Games.
It's the federal government's job to make sure that a nurse being properly equipped in Peoria, Illinois, doesn't come at the cost of a doctor being ready for work in San Antonio, Texas. There was no national plan to acquire PPE or testing supplies.
Last report, the positivity rate in Illinois is 2.6%. The final of 4 social injustice listening sessions with Rockford aldermen is set to take place this evening. Speakers will have the chance to share personal experiences about interactions with law enforcement and about racial discrimination in the city. Aldermen say they will take the stories and work with city staff to create an action plan to address issues moving forward. Sign up is happening right now at the Salvation Army on South Rockford Avenue. Speakers start at 5:30. Face masks must be worn and social distancing will be enforced. After more than 3 months away, a downtown Rockford visitor destination reopens its doors. Discovery Center is now open with temporary hours and reduced capacity. Visitors will be now given some time to enter and exit the museum. Time between visits will be used for cleaning. Exhibits have also been modified to encourage social distancing and contactless interactions. Despite the changes, parents say they and their kids were ready to get out of the house.
We have actually missed it since it's been closed. We've actually been trying to gather more toys and other things that have been here at our house, kind of bringing the Discovery Center at home. So we were both kind of thrilled to be able to come back, even with the restrictions.
You can find out more about the hours on mystateline.com.
Now, your First Warn weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Candice King.
It was another hot and humid Wednesday afternoon with temperatures making it into the 90s, but that was before we had those thunderstorms quickly develop. A combination of the heat, the humidity, and some old outflow boundaries from the thunderstorms yesterday allowed these storms to quickly fire up over northern Illinois, producing torrential downpours. We're talking about an inch of rainfall per hour. Thankfully, a lot of this activity is is now sinking down to the south and weakening as it is, as these thunderstorms grew and then collapsed because there just wasn't a lot of wind shear to keep them really sustained. We actually had some winds 40 to 50 miles per hour in some areas associated with some of these thunderstorms, but still some lingering showers south of Oregon and south here of a Dixon to Franklin Grove line, and really that activity has really decreased over the past hour or so. Still a couple of thunderstorms back down to the southwest. Not a lot of storm reports. Actually had a report of a tree limb down on a couple of cars in Freeport. That report came into the Weather Service, as well as some tree damage and wind damage in and around the Davenport area, actually where we had severe thunderstorm warnings. Now the rain also, as I mentioned, came down fairly quickly. Our weather watcher Bob here in Rockford said he got about 6/10 of an inch of rain, but that was within 15 minutes. Current temperature at 83 and a dew point number of 69. So still muggy out there this evening, but what you saw on the radar is pretty much it, and things will be much more quiet as we go through the night tonight. Skies will stay partly cloudy. I can't completely rule out some fog or even some haze as we go through the overnight hours. Now there are some thunderstorms developing across the northern plains this evening, and these will be working through Wisconsin by sunrise tomorrow. Most of this is going to stay to the north tomorrow, but again, like today, we could get some outflow boundaries as a result of that, and that could help fire off a few thunderstorms with the heating of the day into the early afternoon. But a stronger system coming in from the west mid to late afternoon and evening could really help produce some strong to severe thunderstorms as we get through about the supper time hour. Our biggest impacts and threats with those storms, like today, we're going to have a slightly higher risk for some strong winds or even some damaging wind gusts, and then again that heavy rainfall along with the frequent lightning, small hail. The tornado risk is very, very low as we hold on to low wind shear in the environment. But by about 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, those storms will be pushing off to the east. We'll get a couple of showers that'll linger a little after midnight Friday morning, and some of those could still even linger into early Friday, but skies will be drying out as our winds pick up from the northwest Friday afternoon. So for tomorrow, we've actually got a slight risk for stronger thunderstorms. That's the area you see here in yellow, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. Again, damaging wind gusts, torrential rainfall are going to be our biggest threats. Live look with our Mercy House SkyTrack camera now, looking south across the downtown Rockford area. Temperatures have really cooled off for us this evening, but you see a lot of that heat in the surrounding areas. So the cool off is brief because we look for highs to make it back into the 90s and the heat index back up close to 100 for tomorrow afternoon. We will stay in the 80s and then dropping those numbers into the mid 80s by the weekend. 90s though, look at that 95 by the end of the week.
Their relief does not last long. Candice, thanks.
Now, the Mapleton Sports Desk with Samantha Rivera.
Well, as MLB teams get ready for a different kind of season, managers find themselves reminding their players to wear their masks to prevent the spread of COVID-19. As an added responsibility with his job, Chicago White Sox manager Rick Renteria says he doesn't see it as, quote, too much of a burden. It's just the way it is, end quote. However, he hopes he's not the only one doing the reminding.
Hopefully it's other teammates that are, imparting those messages. It hasn't, I don't think it's affected me in one way or the other. It hasn't made it any more difficult. It's just the new normal right now, and I think that we're responsible for it, and it is what it is.
The team also announced beginning today, fans can purchase cardboard cutouts of themselves that'll be shown at Guaranteed Rate Field during their first homestand. While Northern Illinois football was supposed to play BYU this fall at SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, the game is instead being moved to Husky Stadium. So the date, October 24th, will stay the same. It's just the location changing. The school says the change comes due to stadium capacity limits and safety measures that the state has put in place with the coronavirus pandemic. Northwestern and Wisconsin football are also taking a hit from the pandemic. Northwestern announced that 2 teams will no longer play at Wrigley Field on November 7th. The school said the decision was made after consulting with local and state authorities, the Cubs, and the Big Ten Conference, as well as considering the challenges the COVID-19 pandemic brings. As of now, Northwestern's website has Ryan Field in Evanston as a location of that game, but they have not officially announced it. Ryder Cup and President's Cup have officially been rescheduled. The announcement made by the PGA of America, Ryder Cup Europe, and the PGA Tour has the Ryder Cup moved to 2021 and the President's Cup to 2022. Ryder Cup change was made, quote, based on guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and in conjunction with the state of Wisconsin and Sheboygan County, with the health and well-being of all involved as a top priority, unquote.
Heading into the overnight hours, temperatures in the lower 70s. The heat humidity builds back in tomorrow, but like the past couple of days, this will fuel the risk for some strong to even severe thunderstorms towards the afternoon and evening. So damaging winds and heavy rainfall. We're looking at about 4 to 8, 9 o'clock as our time frame tomorrow. 80s for the weekend, but heat building, Eric, next week.
Even those 80s don't look like much of a cool down. Thanks, Candice. Stay safe.